Synergies came from the World Bank discussion about women's gender equality. So one of the things that I remember specifically, his name was Jordan. I have his name written, Jordan Sampson, and he's saying that much of the research is gender blind, which says to me, again, instead of asking people to define us, we need to define some tools that are gender specific. For example, you could ask a question, they're saying gender blind, so how many men get pregnant? So you could ask questions about their pregnancies. But you need to find language that's specific for women, that it cannot be manipulated when you're doing a study. And I don't know, a lot of people hate research. I happen to love it because I'm nosy by nature, and I don't apologize for it. But I do know that the language needs to be formulated. And I don't know, women can talk to universities, but when you're making these tools, they need to be gender unbiased. But for a man to sit there and say that he's representing the World Bank and he did all this research in India and Ghana and Ethiopia, then to turn around and say that the studies are gender blind, and we're doing all this reading, reporting back of research, and we didn't pick it up, we need to start implementing that portion. And then when we're talking about violence against women, both things, first of all, a lot of the violence is unreported. When they talk about maternal mortality, a lot of that's unreported. They don't say that the woman died because of her pregnancy. They're not saying that, so it's underreported. So maybe we need to train uneducated women to be the watchdog as well as educated people. Because it makes no sense for us to expect, when we know education is based on a patriarchal society, a mode. We also know that health is also patriarchal. It's mainly men. And only when women get in there do you get that sensitivity and look at that holistic viewpoint. So I think we as women need to educate that to other women and to the men who work with us, because they may not recognize it, but it's up to us to tell everyone what that is. It makes no sense. I lived in Kentucky, and Kentucky, spouse abuse, I did spouse abuse. 30% of the women in Kentucky are beaten. But look at all that's unreported. That's what's reported. So if 30% are getting beaten and they're coming forward, you know there's at least 20 to 30% that are not talking. And this is the same thing that's happening in Africa, it's happening in South America, it's happening in China, it's happening everywhere. So somehow we need to make people understand that this is not just a regional problem, it's a holistic problem, it's worldwide. And then when you're talking about wars, throughout the history of time, rape was part of that.
And disasters.
Yes, and disasters. So people need to tie that together and stop acting like, as women, we tend to think more holistically because we have to deal with the children. So, you know, if the food's not right, if the climate's not right, the child's going to get sick. So you have to think more holistically. And we maybe need to put those words out there and get people to put that language out there, because I don't hear us doing it. We're asking the question, and it's back here, and all of us know it's back here.
Well,
So let's pull it forward.
Well, I think you're speaking to, and I think the sister raised it. We call it intersectionality. It's about making sure that the solutions and the policies that we enact for women really do intersect one another, because all of these things, access to education, access to a safe and clean community, food security, housing, all of these things intersect. Like I was watching the news this morning, and Kansas City is about to shut down half of its schools, and it's just horrific to think about the generational impact that will have, and how it will play itself out on children who aren't even old enough to know what it means. So when we talk about policies, part of how we've got to transition when we talk about policy on the local level, the state level, and even internationally, is making sure that we have intersectional analysis, right, around violence against women, around poverty, and make sure that the policies that are enacted, the funding that is given, actually hits at an intersectional marker, so that women really benefit.